Are you afraid of going camping or afraid of sleeping while you're camping? Well, I'm going to talk about that in this video. So if you're not familiar with camping, then you're likely going to have some fears over going out into the wilderness, into the woods, especially at night, and sleeping out there. And it's understandable. It's a new adventure. It's a new journey. It's a new experience. And to be completely honest, there have been many times where I've been afraid while camping. And that might not be something that you want to hear. It's probably not helpful if you're watching this because you are battling a fear of camping or a fear of the unknown, I guess, and you want to get over it so that you can go on a camping trip. The thing is, there are a lot of things that can happen out here, and I could tell you stories that are, frightening, Stories of when a bear came into my camp, when I was in a severe thunderstorm alone, hanging in a hammock during the thunderstorm. Or the other thunderstorm I was in, far up north in northern Canada, a fly-in canoe trip where I had to call for emergency evacuation and they couldn't come for many hours. During that storm, there were tornadoes in the area and a tree fell down on my tent. Or the time I was out doing the Northwest Loop canoe trip, I think it was 5 or 6 days alone, and one night there was a terrible thunderstorm. The rain was just coming down, like pouring. I was basically out on a rock thinking that the tent would get struck by lightning, but I could hear this animal screaming in the distance, and it was the most terrifying sound that I have ever heard. What I did was, after that experience, I went home and I found that sound, and what I discovered was that it was, the call or the cry of a vixen fox. So yeah, things happen, and it can be scary. To deal with those fears, the first point of advice that I would give is just be prepared. Be as prepared as you can be. Whatever your fears might be of, take precautions to alleviate those fears so that in your mind you can at least say, I've done that. So if you're afraid of bears, then buy yourself an air horn, maybe bear bangers, maybe bear spray, whatever it is to make yourself feel comfortable. And it doesn't matter if other people say you don't need it. If that's a legitimate fear, then it's fine for you to have those things to make you feel comfortable, even if there's no bears. The second point that I want to make is dealing with the fear. But if your main issue is wondering how to get a good night's sleep while you're camping, maybe because of fear, then make sure you check out my video, How to Get a Good Night's Sleep While Camping. On the topic of fear, the thing is, the way that you deal with fear is, and it might seem strange, but just put it out of your mind. And it can be really difficult at times, but the truth is, that's how you deal with it. Don't fill your head with a lot of ideas of what could happen, but instead, just appreciate the moment of what's going on right now. I've done a lot of camping solo and with groups, and I have felt fear, but I feel it when something is happening. I try not to be afraid of what's going to happen. And I have some experience from my professional life that taught me how to do this, but the way you learn is just by not thinking about it and getting in the habit of just enjoying the experience. Don't get yourself all worked up about what could happen. Instead, just enjoy what is happening. Chances are nothing's going to happen, and you'll be safe. Maybe not from mosquitoes. The third way to deal with fear is this. Okay, that's a joke. Don't do that. It's actually a bad idea. If you have fear, don't start drinking alcohol or smoking weed or whatever when you're out in the bush. It's just going to make you more paranoid and, restless and not be able to cope with, what's in your brain. So just stay sober for the experience. Mixing fear with alcohol or drugs is a really bad idea. Okay, so the true number 3 way to deal with fear, and this might seem strange, but it's to be active while you're camping. So if you're going out to hike, then go for a long hike. If you are someone who likes to canoe, go out canoeing. Wear yourself down. You know, there's this thing of the first night while you're camping, you're afraid, you hear all these noises, and then the second night you are a little bit less afraid. You're starting to get used to it, but still there's noises in the distance. And by the third night, you're so tired, you get into your tent or hammock or camper or rooftop tent, and you just fall asleep. So wear yourself out. Do things physically so that at the end of the day, you're tired and you will just fall asleep. You might hear a few noises at the beginning of the night and wonder what they are, but then you'll just fall asleep. You know, at the start of this video, I talked about some of the horror stories that I've lived through while camping, but I'll tell you, there's been some funny stories as well, like the time I was camping and I thought that I was surrounded by wolves. I thought there was a wolf in my camp, and eventually I built up the courage to unzip my tent very slowly with my headlamp on and a flashlight in my hand, and I poked my head out expecting a wolf to be standing right outside, and there was nothing, but I could hear this wolf howling and it was right there, and I looked around, and then eventually I saw there was an owl on a branch up in the tree, and I thought, it's an owl. And I enjoyed seeing the owl. Don't let your imagination get away with you. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's something that's going to be super easy, but what I'm saying is prepare yourself. You know, do things that wear yourself out so that at the end of the day, you're tired and you can sleep easy. And just forget about it and enjoy the experience. The other thing I should say about the fear of camping is that if you're really afraid, then start off somewhere that you feel safe and then build up from there. Don't jump straight in from no camping experience to a wilderness camping experience that you do alone. That would be a bad idea. Take baby steps. You know, the first camping trip I ever went on, I went with my father and my older brother, and I learned from there. I did camping trips with family, and then I did camping trips with friends, and then eventually I tried camping alone and going into further wilderness areas. The best advice I can give is take it slow and do what you're comfortable with. Build on your experience, and eventually you'll look back and think about those fears that you had a long time ago, and although you might not think they're silly, you'll think, I'm a changed person, I've grown, I have experience. And that's a good feeling on its own. The other thing that I should say is that if you're really afraid, then go with somebody who's experienced and who you trust. And then when you're out there, trust them. Anyway, that's my advice for how to deal with fear while camping, or the fear of camping. And there are a lot of mosquitoes swarming me, so I'm gonna take cover. I'm gonna go get into my rooftop tent. Good luck, and thanks for watching. Maybe check out this video next.